What's up, y'all? What's up? What's up? What's up? Yeah, now tapping into another 4 a.m. session. My name is Akio Evans, and I'm looking to give you guys another exclusive, one-on-one session. Well, I won't call it exclusive, you know what I'm saying? But it will be exclusive if, you guys are catching this live. But I'm looking to, kind of like just share my insight on these life experiences. And I'm just happy, that some of you guys have been responding, some of you guys have been liking and sharing. I've been seeing the views been picking up, slowly but surely. I just embraced the whole entire process, and I thank you for tapping in the replay. I think those of you who do tap in early, tapping in with me. So yesterday we talked about animal totems, and I kind of went in a little bit about how, the animal totem had translated to not only me seeing the squirrel as I was in my travels of jogging, but I've also seen the squirrel in my dream. Um, and I want to say I've always had vivid dreams since I was young. Dreams for me, these scenarios that paint in my subconscious mind always seems as though it's like a movie. Like I remember since a young since a child, I've always dreamed about dreams that these nightmares wasn't necessarily nightmares. These nightmares for me, they were like actual movies. You know what I'm saying? And some of these nightmares that or some people would classify nightmares. It wasn't until in my later adult life that I started like writing some of it down. Like I keep a dream journal. And as I listened to a few podcasts, Sean Modell, he wrote this book called, I think it's something smarter, uh, sleep smarter, sleep smarter. And on this podcast, he brings, all types of people, doctors, neurosurgeons, people that study the brain. And I remember this one episode, I don't know if it was from Sean Modell or Jim Quick, but they talked about how you can program or you can build your brain muscle to remember your dreams. And as I was finishing up yesterday's session, I talked about how, you know, they said that every waking thought, like when you wake up from your dream, and they said when you open your eyes, the very first two things that enters your brain, as far as the first two thoughts that you think, it can immediately wipe away the dream. So you won't have no recollection of what you dreamt that night, unless it was like something that was a little bit more vivid, um, and or unless it was something that you remembered, right? I had many dreams as I continue to get older. In recent years, I would dream about, and this might sound weird, I would dream about an individual and I would see them the next day. And this individual I haven't seen, I don't know, in either weeks or months, but they would just magically pop up, you know, um, in my waking life. Um, I got many instances where this has happened, and I'm gonna try to like elaborate on some of them as much as possible. But we can start with, um, you know, uh, this one time I had a dream about my old neighbor. She appeared in my dream for whatever reason. I can vaguely remember what the dream was about, but what I do remember is waking up from my dream, and I was explaining this dream to a friend of mine. And as I was explaining this dream to a friend of mine, about seeing this person, I walked the individual to their car, and I remember coming back to my apartment. And as I was coming back to my apartment, I was in a stairwell. And when I was in the stairwell, I had seen a text even before I left my apartment from my neighbor. My neighbor, she had just went through a domestic violence or a police call because they had many incidences where the police would come and as if couples continue to argue, eventually one of the couples is going to have to get locked up. So they were in that predicament. And I knew both of them. I knew both of the neighbors, and it was the neighbor's wife. And she contacted me, and I was hesitant about answering because I was like, "What's going on?" But I already knew that it was probably associated with some type of drama. So I'm in the stairwell looking at my phone, contemplating on whether I should check in on her because she had asked me, "Hey, if you can you come by?" And I was like, "Ah," but Spirit told me to come by. So I went there, and she told me the story about how her and my other neighbor, they got into it and he was locked up. She feels so bad and she wants to pick out a dress, because it was a festival, an annual festival that like right outside the apartments that happens. It takes place every year. This is post COVID. This is before COVID. So I said, okay, and let me. And it got to the point where I wasn't going to go with her, but I said she already had her clothes on. She was like, "Hey, can you just uh, walk with me so I can pick a dress for when he comes home?" So I was like, ah. So I was in a situation where I had to go. So we decided to get on the elevator. Now the elevator, it's only about 4 floors in the building. And we were on the second floor, but she decided to get on the elevator to let us go down one. I said we could just walk. So we get on the elevator, and when the elevator doors open, I see the neighbor that I had dreamt about. Now, keep in mind, she had left months ago to go to India because where I stayed at, it was a mixture of different people that worked at Johns Hopkins, and some were doctors, some were researchers, and she was one of the researchers, that work in the lab. And I haven't seen my neighbor in months. The last time I seen her was when she left to go to India during Easter, and it was June. And how ironic that she was in my dream just the night before, and I wake up to respond to a person in need. And when the elevator doors open, she was there with her luggage. She had just came in town. And so many times when this happened, I'll be wanting to say, "Hey, yo, I dreamt about you last night," or "Yo, I had a dream about you last night," and here it is, we're um, in each other's presence. And I explained that to as okay. And as I walked to the festival, I helped her pick out a dress, and she said, "Akio, I could take it from here." I said, "Okay, good." And I went to my apartment and I called, the person who I was with, and I said, "Hey," when I walked to the car, I said, "Hey, remember the dream that I told you that I was dreaming about my neighbor? How about I just seen her and she just randomly just came into town this year?" She's like, "Wow, that's crazy." But that wasn't the only incident that, that individual had knew about. And the individual I'm talking about is my ex, right? So it was another incident where, um, I woke up and I will always explain my dreams, of what I would have because it was so vivid. And, the person who I used to date, she used to just be in awe about the dreams. But this one other incident where I had a dream about this one individual, um, it was like we decided to go to the mall. And when we went to the mall, um, you know, we seen the same individual that I had dreamt about, that I even had told about that morning, that was in my dream that night before. And I haven't seen this individual in years. Um, and It was another incident that had happened where I did the same thing, where her and we went to this bar. Um, it was in Baltimore, Maryland. It was like in the Sedonia area, the Hazelwood. And I haven't seen my other friend in years. His name was Tavon Black. And I remember actually having a dream about him and then telling her, and we goes to the Hazelwood, and I sees this guy at the jukebox, you know what I mean? And this is post COVID too. And this guy, like my man Tavon, he was dark skinned, so you couldn't really see him in the dark. It was like daylight, but it was like where he was standing at, you couldn't really see. And all I see was this man just looking at me with like this, right? And I started to say, I'm gonna go over there to him. And I eventually did. And he met me halfway. And I said, "Hey, yo, that's crazy." So I said, "Nah, yo, come with me right now." Him and we walked to where my ex was sitting at the table as she was eating. I said, "Hey, tell him about the dream that I had. Tell this guy about the dream that I had." She was puzzled. She was like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Who did I tell you I had dreamt about? Do you remember the guy's name?" She said, was it Tavon?" I said, "Yes." I said, "Look who this is. Guess who this is." She said, "Tavon?" I was like, yes. She said, oh my God, oh my God. He literally just had a dream about you last night and he sees you today. And I walked him over there to where he was at. And we talked for a bit. He introduced me to his lady. And that was the last time I seen Tavon because Tavon, he had passed away months after that. My man Black. And I got a lot of stories with Black, you know. And that lady that I was telling you about, that her husband had had the domestic violence. Well, not he wasn't violent, but they just had too many call-ins, and the lady that was picking up the dress, she had died in that apartment. And I always think about like, wow, what if I didn't come to her aid at that moment? Because I started to ignore the call. I started to ignore the text. I'm glad I did because that was the only memory that I had with that was not a young woman. She was older than me, but with that lady. And when I found out that she had died of the sickness that she was going through, and it ripped my her husband. I was good friends with her husband. His name was Tom. It ripped him apart, but he's been good to date. He's been able to love again, and I'm happy for him. But they say that dreams are a guide in the dream world and answers. You can get answers from the dream world to help you navigate through your waking life, which is what, when we're woke. And I can go deep into this, y'all. And as far as my friend Tavon Black, I think I'm gonna dedicate an episode towards him in the next one. Because me and Black, we got so many stories. And I remember my mother, and God rest my mother's soul, God rest Tavon's soul. My mother took a liking to Black. You know what I'm saying? But Tavon, man, oh my gosh. Mm, you talk about this guy, man. He did a lot, but we'll conclude that in the next one. But because I think he was a part of my journey as well. He was one of the when I first started making clothes, um, Aegis clothing line. He was there before the feds raided my house and took my computer. So yeah, that's why that's going to be another conversation. But have you ever had any dreams that you've had like somewhat of a psychic or experience, or have you had prophetic dreams where an incident had happened? You know, Jazz, he can enlighten you guys on at this moment in his life too. But we're going to be probably doing an episode tomorrow, so I'll probably get him to elaborate on his experience of the dreams and the prophetic experiences if he feels comfortable with sharing it, because it is kind of graphic. And we explained that incident in a previous episode because we started the podcast, the Jazz and Keys podcast. We started that joint in July 23rd, 2021, and we only have 30 episodes, so definitely tap in, but look at the earlier episodes on our IG. It was originally titled the Yeah Man Yeah podcast, but now we have it as the Jazz and Keys, um, you know, uh, podcast, whatever have you. But I will leave you with that. Have you ever had any dreams that you've had like these similar experiences to where as though you can Google like, answers to? And what do you feel is how these things happen, or what's your thoughts on that? You know, um, again, I didn't want this joint to be so long, but I definitely had to get this. I wanted to express to you guys uh, more so on just the synchronicities that or the alignment that can happen, and I have a few more where my mother popped in my dreams too. And she popped. I can count on my fingers. She popped in my dreams 3 times, and I'm aware of every last time she popped up in my dreams. Sometimes she popped in my dreams as warnings, right? And it's so weird, but we'll chime in another time. But thank you guys for tapping in. Again, the Harriet Tubman print is going to be available, for the giveaway 5 days from now. So if you want to still enter that giveaway, look at the previous instructions or check the instructions down in the description, and it'll be there. Salute, peace, and mad love.